Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Grand Cruise Astrology. My name is Clayton, and today I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's going on for the week coming up. So, I did a little video about the Venus and its square to Neptune. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and Venus going retrograde this week, which it does do. And then we have Mercury as well. It's moving into the sign of Gemini. It's direct, but it is moving into the sign of Gemini, a sign that it likes. Its home sign. It's one of its signs that express itself very fluidly and comfortably in. So there'll be some interesting energy around that. So let's get started. Right there at the beginning of the week, Mercury ingresses into Gemini, right there on Monday. So when Mercury was in Taurus, the energy, the mental acuity, and the fast action, the multitasking, technology, there may have been some stop starts or just some slow plodding along when it comes to a lot of that stuff this last couple of weeks. Well, now with Mercury going into Gemini, the speed picks up. Communications can be a lot faster, quicker. We may try to take on more. We may try to do, quite a few things at once. It's just the energy of Mercury in Gemini. And it can be very social, very fast moving, and very mental, very objective, very reasonable, very logical, and very strong. Mercury is at its strength in Gemini. So, however, so for the first couple of days of the week, that we'll be feeling that. We'll be probably have a lighter step and probably a little bit more agility in our communication and our thinking. It just may feel like things are moving faster and we're moving faster with it. However, once Venus goes retrograde in Gemini, then which it will in the middle of the week, and it's already starting to slow down. So this speed that I'm talking about with Mercury, it's being challenged in other ways. So I'm going to go ahead and separate what part of our lives we're going to be seeing this faster moving energy and what part of our lives we may be doing some reflection. So as I said with Mercury, it's more mental, it's more logical, it's more objective. It has to do with thinking, with facts, with figures. So almost in when concerning anything impersonal, things that are just we're removed from, and things that are primarily mental. We're going to have that agility there, and there's not going to be hiccups in that regard. However, Venus is also in Gemini. So, and it goes, as I said, retrograde middle of the week, and it is already square to Neptune. So I did a video about Venus being square to Neptune and how that can create a little bit of fog and mist when it comes to relationships with other people, especially in Gemini on a very casual level, on a very superficial kind of, people out and about kind of way. It can get a little confusing with that for obvious reasons. We're seeing that, with the distancing and everything. How do we relate to one another? Venus also has to do with values and finding balance in within our own set of values. And so, with Venus going retrograde here, there is some reflection about our value system, and with it square to Neptune, there's a lot of confusion around that. There can be some ideals that may not necessarily match reality, right? So this is sort of the energy that we have going here with this Venus squared to Neptune going retrograde. Now, the retrograde portion of it, it's going to be about 6 weeks long. So we're talking about 6 weeks worth of reflection. And around early July, it starts moving forward again. And so while retrograde here, we're going to be reassessing what it is that we value first off. But the area of focus with our value systems is going to be related to how we communicate, how we perceive, our perceptions, our communications, how we connect with others on a very broad array of activities, a very superficial level, you could call it. But it could also be, it's Gemini is an air sign. We have Venus in Gemini, so we this could be how we connect technologically, right? Reassessing how we want to do that. How much of what we do can we connect technologically through the internet, and how much of it do we need to be present with people and actually have human contact? These are a lot of the questions that we're going to be asking ourselves and answering in time. So it's kind of like, as I see it, it's kind of a trial and error. We're figuring this thing out. We're figuring out how we're going to do it. We're all a part of it. We're all making decisions on where we go from here and how we want to build our social connections with one another. And this Venus retrograde is right on time. It's absolutely written in the stars that this is what we were, as a collective, set to be going through at this time. So that's what we're dealing with. It will be square to Neptune in the early part of that retrograde. So for the first couple of weeks, we're going to have square to Neptune, and that can be challenging. However, toward the end of the retrograde period, after about 6 weeks, once we get into July, and Venus starts to move forward again, the one piece of hopeful news I can give you there is that there is a nice balance between Venus and Mars once we get into July, early July, mid-July, into the summer. So there's a certain balance that we find with this. But early on, there's going to be some trial and error, some confusion, some working things out, like you're just really figuring out what it is we value in any given situation. And some of that it comes through experience and actually just putting our feelers out and feeling into the situation. Because, being square to Neptune, which Venus will be, it's going to ask us to feel into situations a little more, use our intuition a little more. Gemini doesn't like that because Gemini is very logical, very reasonable, very rational, and wants things to line up. 1 + 1 = 2, but square to Neptune, we may not get that. And so, anytime we have a square, it's not necessarily about finding compromise between two energies that don't match up. And I've given a lot of background with another video that I made about the square to Neptune with Venus and how these energies are very different, but they do have some similarity. They're both mutable signs. So when we're dealing with a square, it's not about, like you would with an opposition, trying to find a compromise between the two energies and trying to meet in the middle. This energy it's tension, yes, but it's more about finding a creative solution. It's more about using the two the 90-degree angle, the square angle, to create something greater than the sum of its part, a solution that has an outcome in the world that could only happen by the tension created between the two energies that are at cross purposes. You see, I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but understand this isn't about compromise. This is about getting creative about the solution. So what I would suggest is with Neptune, it's a very kind of worldly, larger than life, compassion for humanity, we're all one kind of energy with Neptune and Pisces, and having a lot of compassion for the downtrodden, people that are sick. Okay, so that's Neptune and Pisces, and having a big heart and being able to encompass all of that as individuals. With Venus and Gemini, that's like, yes, but I have my social groups. I have these people here. I have those people there. And I want to connect with these people on these terms and these people on those terms. And, sometimes I just want to be with my people and this and that. It's very it can be a little more clicky, with Venus and Gemini. But it connects dots. There's still a Venus and Gemini wants to connect with the world. It just goes about it in a very different way. So this square is not asking individuals to compromise their individuality, their sense of self, their sense of freedom or ability to move around. It's not asking them to give that up. It's only asking that we get creative about how we incorporate. How do we maximize both of them, right? How do we maximize our compassion for the larger community and give attention to that while at the same time maximizing our individual creativity and self-expression in the process, right? It's important that we, in my astrological opinion, that we really value both of these equally and that we try to use this situation to maximize both, not compromising either, but actually putting attention on both of these realities and making them far more accentuated than they ever were in the past, right? Enjoying more individual self-expression, more individual freedom, while at the same time incorporating a greater vision for humanity and having compassion for the whole, right? I truly believe we have an opportunity to have both of those and have them create an outcome for ourselves that is beyond anything we ever thought possible. So that's energy we're dealing with. Just keep in mind, when Venus is square to Neptune, Neptune is, they call it a planet of illusion only because Neptune sees beyond day-to-day reality. It sees beyond the three dimensions. It's multi-dimensional perception. So though if we strictly try to keep ourselves in linear thought and only have a linear picture of what is happening around us, and we don't incorporate a larger multi-dimensional framework, then this can get very confusing. The challenge is to incorporate some of these higher ideals, some of these higher perspectives, some of these multi-dimensional perspectives, and incorporate them into our day-to-day life and get creative about how we do that. That's the challenge. There's no playbook for this. We are making it up. So this is the energy that we're dealing with. I'm going to do more videos as Venus makes other aspects. When Mercury gets to Venus, I will make another video about that. This will be a continuing energy for the next 6 weeks, but just for right now, just understand that Venus is slowing down. It's getting ready to track back retrograde at the middle of the week, and it will be going out of retrograde at the beginning of July. And once we get into July, as far as Venus is concerned, Venus rules relationships, it rules value systems. So once we get into July, more toward the middle part of July, some of these things we're going to get clarity on, and we're going to be able to make some sense of, and when it comes to relationships and value systems. Okay. But for right now, we're reflecting on that. We're trying things out. We're testing things out. And with Mercury going into Gemini, we're, especially for that first couple of days of the week, the speed's probably going to pick up, and we're probably going to feel like we got some. Our mind is moving quick, and we have ideas, thoughts, things that we want to put into action and express, right? Probably a lot of verbal communication going on right now, messages getting sent out, and a lot of back and forth. So it could be a very fast-moving time this week, but on another level, there's going to be some reflection of how we connect to one another too. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but it's going to be a lot of fun for us to integrate and create with. So have fun with this energy. I'll do another video. I think I'm going to do another video about Jupiter going retrograde too, because we have Jupiter going retrograde, I think, by weekend. And then we have, and then of course, next month we got Mercury going retrograde. So there's a lot of reflection happening right now. There's a lot of, putting the brakes on and kind of reassessing what's going to work for us, because what worked in the past, that model going forward, it needs to be updated, upgraded. But the message I'll leave you with is go out there and create, and hold the idea that we can. This isn't about compromise. This is about creating situations for ourselves that maximize the benefits of both the collective and the individual. I'll leave it at that. See you in the next video. Bye.